Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and have you ever wondered how corporations with more money than Scrooge McDuck himself can stumble their way into our industry and then quickly fall out of relevancy? Companies like Amazon and Google, who have seemingly limitless amounts of funds, could hire who they want, could market to their heart's desire without putting a single dent in their pocket and quickly take over the games industry, have managed to fail every step of the way. Take a quick look at Amazon, who released Crucible, a very uninspired title, then unreleased it, and then outright canceled it. Or Google, who released a brand new console that as it showed its cards more and more and more, it became much more underwhelming, way out of touch, and showing that Google had no idea what they're doing. Why do these companies behave like that? I think it's because they don't seem to understand that while this is absolutely a business, it's also a passion-driven industry. People are here to have fun. And when you have people working on games who don't clearly get the lay of the land and don't understand where the industry is trending and what exactly works and what doesn't, and the great relationship that, for example, creators can have with companies or companies can have with each other, it shows exactly why they don't understand that they can't just buy their way into everything, that everything revolves around money. This is why you see companies who are indies or you see companies who are AA making a lot more game sales than Google or Amazon have ever seen so far, because they understand the passion of a great idea and invigorating an audience with a great story, with excellent gameplay, with something truly unique that you can take and talk to a friend about. It doesn't seem like Google gets that, and in today's video, we're really going to be hammering that home with some very interesting takes that have made their way around the internet. I'm sure you've seen them already, but it comes from a creative director who's working on games for Google Stadia. And if this doesn't symbolize exactly why the platform is failing when you have people like this in a leadership position, I don't know what exactly will scream to Google that they are clearly out of their minds with what they're doing and who's working on their games. With that in mind though, my platform is not about cancellation, it's about education. And hopefully there is something to be learned here today, because this could have been a great day for Google, as they had unveiled that they're doing an exclusive demo with the very underrated Immortals Phoenix Rising, where you don't have to have a subscription service at all. You can just hop in, test the game out, and then move on with your day. And that seemed like a great step in the right direction, but it quickly got muddied with this conversation here. Some of the most conversation that we've ever seen when it comes to Google Stadia itself. And there were a lot of dunks happening online, but ultimately I want to offer just a very objective approach here, not outrage, not full of emotion here. It is an absolutely BS garbage take, but I wanted to talk about it, like I said, from a standpoint of education, how to be better here, because this is a completely out of touch opinion that once again needs to be better. So let's read and then respond. So this comes from Alex Hutchinson, who is a creative director at Google Stadia, not specifically the console itself, but rather a studio working on Google Stadia games. They previously worked on Journey to the Savage Planet, a great game from what I've heard, Far Cry 4, Assassin's Creed 3, Spore, Sims 2, etc. He wrote on Twitter, streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. So this is in response to what's happened over on Twitch, where they've started to really enforce like DMCA takedowns, and kind of what's happening over on Twitch is what happened on YouTube many years ago, where that gray space sort of just narrowed down more so, and you really had to get in line with the rules or see yourself out. And so a lot of streamers have had issues with clips, with highlights on their channel. There's been issues with channels in general because of the music that was playing in the background, because people would be playing these either copyright music or what was seemingly royalty free, but then it got flagged down anyways. And so Alex is saying that if you think that's bad, one day you're gonna have to pay for those games that you're getting for free. Let's keep reading. The real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. Now, I can't help myself but get semi-sarcastic here. You guys know me, I'm a pretty sarcastic individual, but like as someone who shipped so many games, you'd think he'd kind of be aware of you know, that we buy games. You know, I speak for myself here when I say that, of course, I am somewhat biased in this conversation. I am a content creator. I'm sure many other YouTubers who are going to talk about this are inherently biased because this is our livelihood. But at the end of the day, you buy the game and you can use it how you would like. It is your product. It has been sold to you. It is now yours. That being said, there is one thing that is true here. There is a bit of a gray area here. Nintendo is a fine example of this. Nintendo ran their own creator program for a very long while, to the aggravation of many, by the way, because it was one of those things that kept me from making Nintendo content. Now, I know I'm not a Nintendo creator. My Nintendo videos generally don't perform that well, so it's not my field anyway. But point being is it always kept me out of their space, even during the Wii U days and so on and so forth. And it wasn't until Nintendo eradicated that program that they won the goodwill online of many people through social media and through YouTube, because they were allowing people to just share videos of their amazing games and celebrating them, instead of saying, sign up for our program. We want 30% of the cut you're making. You're only getting 70%. And that's the only way we can enable certain content to go through. Was horrible, and a lot of companies have understood the value of content creation. Let me use myself as an example, because I can at least speak from firsthand experience. Companies value creators so much that they've built marketing campaigns around us. For example, I've done sponsored videos for Destroy All Humans. I've done sponsored videos for Wasteland 3. These are two games I already liked a lot, especially Destroy All Humans, which I played when I was much younger. Wasteland 3 I previewed, I liked it. I made a video and then was offered a sponsored opportunity. So for me personally, man, like, these companies will offer to pay you to have space on your channel and say like, hey, like, for example, you guys know I love Wasteland 3. I was hyped for Wasteland 3. I covered Wasteland 3 a lot. There really shouldn't have been any interest to pay me money for Wasteland 3. But they decided to pay me to ensure that they had space on my channel, because companies value creators. They value the marketing that they bring, because sometimes, a lot of times even, people don't trust, say, critics like IGN. They don't trust GameSpot. The word of mouth, the seeing of the game playing before your eyes, sells someone more than anything. This most certainly goes more so for streamers, right? That's where you see even more sponsored opportunities crawl out. You'll see people being paid to just play the game for an hour, and that's it. And they'll get a lot of money if you're a really big streamer. But point being is that nothing sells someone more than seeing the game in action. And there's even been times where we've heard rumors that creators of the games have built their titles around this whole streaming culture, as in they will front load their title. So the first 10 hours are really action packed, or really awesome, or really interesting, or the best part of the game, so that when it's being streamed, it will then enforce better sales. Now, is that the way you make a good game? No, not at all. It's something to be cognizant of when you're reviewing titles. But this take is clearly out of touch for so many reasons. I don't think I really need to explain myself at all, but let's take a look at two extremely popular games on the web right now. Number one is Among Us. Everyone's playing Among Us. This game came out 2 years ago, and if it weren't for people streaming the game, no one would be talking about it at all. I'm sure that the developers of Among Us don't want to sit there and be like, you right there, you're going to pay us. That's right, you're going to pay us to use our game. Do you realize how many games would fall out of relevancy that quickly if they decided to take that route? So many games. No one would want to bother to buy a license for some random game for $5 called Among Us, but the fact that you could buy the game, it was yours, and then you could stream it, share it, I'm sure the developers of Among Us aren't complaining. Or what about Phasmophobia? Phasmophobia is a very popular co-op horror game, and that's a game that quickly skyrocketed up to the top of Steam charts. People are playing it in VR, people are playing it on stream, sharing a co-op horror experience together. If it wasn't for streaming, if it wasn't for YouTube videos, this game would not be as popular as it was. That's no disrespect to any developers, right? It doesn't take away from their work, but it is a good relationship to enforce, because your game can go from here, even if it is popular, to here if you get a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people streaming it, dominating social media. Think of Fall Guys with Tim the Tap Man. When he was going for his crown, that's all anybody could talk about. And I gotta be honest, I usually don't get into that buzz. It was hilarious. So I don't think I really need to explain why this is in particular a bad take, but here's a ton of examples of exactly why what he said is very much out of touch that's happened in the last 2 months. Sadly, he doubled down on this though. He says, it's amazing to me that people are upset at someone saying that creators of content should be allowed to make some of the money from other people using their content for profit. Here's the reality, Alex, is that those people making the game wouldn't even see the money in the first place. It's the suits, it's the higher ups, they would collect. And that's the last group of people I ever want to enforce more money into their pockets. I never, ever want that. They make enough. The developers should be paid more because they're the ones who are in the trenches working really hard. Certainly as a creative director, I bet you are quite aware of that. And then he sarcastically says, anyway, gonna go hop online and stream some Fall Guys. Who's up for it? So this is the part that really annoyed people and made them come for him and really kind of take the approach of like, get this guy out of the industry. Because not only when he was clearly in, I'd say, the wrong with a very bad take here, that he didn't concede at all, but instead doubled down and was sarcastic. And, you know, I can understand someone who doesn't like cave immediately, but this is clearly like one of those moments where you go, this looks like a bad joke, and it's not. It's actually someone being completely serious, and that's like the worst thing in the world. The good news is that head of YouTube Gaming, Ryan Wyatt, aka Fwiz, tweeted out, we believe that publishers and creators have a wonderful symbiotic relationship that has allowed a thriving ecosystem to be created, one that has mutually benefited everyone. YouTube is focused on creating value for creators, publishers, and users. All ships rise when we work together. So while you have someone on the creative side putting out this opinion here, to say the least, at least someone who's in on the game, in on heading up things like Stadia, YouTube Gaming, all that stuff, Fwiz has a completely different mindset and one that's far more educated. It is entirely true. When we all work together, it's a lot easier. Take a moment to think about that. The gaming industry is one of the very few industries that you can really think of where collaboration is the way to the top. You don't have to be cutthroat here. Working together yields better results. Being genuine with one another yields better results. Our podcast, for example, the Ham Radio Podcast, has continued to rise because of the inclusion of incredible friends of mine, like Carrick of ACG, like Dustin Furman, who works at Colin's Last Stand. And we've come together and made this show better than it's ever been. And people are responding that way, but it's because we're genuinely friends in the first place and we wanted to do something together. And you've seen it before. I brought up Phasmophobia, a very popular co-op game. That's just like 4 friends getting together and playing a game. It's really that simple. And that's one of the most interesting things about this space. You don't need to be cutthroat and be like, you got to pay us to play your game. It's a fun industry. If your game is fun, I hate to say it, but it's that simple. People will play it. People will flock to it. People will stream it. People will talk about it. It's not easy to make a good game. It's not easy to make a fun game, but still, at the end of the day, this is obviously a terrible take, but I hope you guys appreciated my approach here. I just wanted to kind of try to take a level ahead because while I thought it was BS and I kind of let a little bit of a frustration fly on Twitter for one single tweet, I wanted to make sure when I hit it on my channel here that I took a more constructive approach to try to inform rather than just be like, oh, you're an idiot, get out of here. Because even though it may seem obvious to us, it's not obvious to everyone else. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you're thinking of this in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support what I'm doing here. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Thank you for pushing the limits of this channel, and I'll talk with you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.